So could I call on Deirdre Forster, partner at Powell Foster Solicitors, firm that refused to sign the unified contract for civil legal aid last April.
Just to give you a little perspective, my firm was peer reviewed as excellent, and over the 10 years that we were doing legal aid work, we saved literally hundreds of families from eviction and homelessness. We, with a very heavy heart, we have an excellent relationship with the LSC, but with a very heavy heart we refused to sign the unified contract because we believed it was fundamentally unfair. We were vindicated in that the recent judgment by the Court of Appeal and the subsequent settlement between the Law Society and the Legal Services Commission showed that we were right, that it was an oppressive and unfair contract. However, can the panel explain why a contract described by the Court of Appeal as an extreme case, where the LSC had reserved itself a virtually unlimited power of amendment, was imposed on practitioners and is now being relied on by the Legal Services Commission to keep high-quality providers out of the system? And can they reassure us that history will not repeat itself?
Well, before we get into the politics of the matter, let's get to the practicalities. How has it affected your work, Caroline Reid?
Thank you. I think the first thing to say is that the law in this respect was unclear, and the Court of Appeal has clarified that. I'm sorry you personally took that decision, but I understand what you're saying. What is really important in terms of going forward is the agreement that we have reached with the Law Society about how we conduct our business in the future and how we move forward in terms of joint work and stability for firms, having set out what we intend to do over the next 3 to 5 years. And I hope that that will give something for all firms to consider, including a small, albeit an increase in some civil fees. So I think the most important thing is that we now have a way forward and a new way of working between the Legal Services Commission and the Law Society, and we want to build on that.
Des Hudson, is that how it feels?
I certainly endorse Caroline's comments about the future. And God knows it's taken long enough, and it's very important that we do get the future right, it seems to me. I think we perhaps don't spend too much time looking backwards, but I think the point that the questioner raised about the very unfortunate manner in which that contract was imposed is a lesson, and something that I think we don't have to turn back, because it was imposed. The terms of that contract, I think, were oppressive, and it spoke of a very different attitude. And I use the phrase "spoke of a different attitude" because I do perceive that in the time that I've spent with Caroline and her colleagues in trying to hammer out this settlement, I have been impressed by what I perceive to be a genuine desire to approach these things differently from now. These things are so important, more people, if I may say so, more important than us, our clients, that it behoves all of us to try and make that work, whatever may have happened in the past.
Philip Hunt, presumably you'll only feel happy, you'll only be able to sleep easy in your bed once you've got somebody as brilliant as Deirdre Forster and the exceptionally important work that she does. I mean, homelessness, addiction, etc., about the toughest stuff that lawyers have to handle, back into the fold.
Well, obviously, we want to have high-quality practitioners wanting to do legal aid and getting a lot out of doing it, and that is how I'd like to see the future. There's not much point racking over what's gone before. I'm pretty fresh to this area, and clearly there are lessons to be learned. I hope there are lessons to be learned on all sides. I welcome very much there's been a lot of work being done between the LSC, my department, and Des and his colleagues, and it's been very, very tough. But I think it is a good outcome. I want to build on that.
I mean, I feel as a hack that I missed an extraordinary story. I mean, the thought the Court of Appeal rolled over a legal arrangement between the government and the lawyer is an absolutely staggering story, Geoffrey Bindman. Is that the end of it, or could we get Deirdre back somewhere? Because it sounds very much as if the stable law has been bolted.
If you want to go to to a place where there is equality, equal justice, a level playing field, you don't start from here. And I have great sympathy with Lord Hunt being landed with this very uncomfortable job, like several of his predecessors. They've been put into a false position, partly because the Treasury is saying there is so much money and you're not getting any more, and you've got to find a way of having a fair legal aid system on that amount of money, regardless of the fact that the money available to the opposition, they have gone up and up and up. They're unlimited, in fact, in many cases. And we don't have a level playing field. The essence of justice and access to justice is equality. We can't have equality with the amount of money that's available unless we look in a much deeper way at the whole system, which, of course, a minister who's here for a short period, perhaps he'll be here for a longer period in the future, I don't know.
Meanwhile, the government has got to be prepared to pay for the service that the public needs, and that means paying more money to enable people like Deirdre to be able to do legal aid work and not be on the dole or in poverty.
Andrew Bellingham, is there anything that Geoffrey has said that you could disagree with?
I would agree with everything he has said. I think one of the sadnesses about this whole saga has been, yes, indeed, expenditure on legal aid has gone up in real terms since 1997, but actually spending on civil legal aid has fallen 24% in real terms since 1997. And I just believe that the government is extraordinary. And I find myself as a sort of middle-of-the-road conservative trying to outflank this government from the left. And I wonder
I just wonder what they had against legal aid lawyers, because we had the Access to Justice Bill, we then had Carter, and this is Carter Plus. And of course we've got to move on from the appeal court decision and the dispute that took place between the Law Society and the LSC. I think the Law Society were quite right to mount that case, because I think law firms were treated quite appallingly.
Philip, what about an olive branch to Deirdre? Can you get her back, or is she right that it's too late?
No, I'd love to get her back. I don't. Okay.
We have to come back. We've been told we can't come back.
Why were you told you can't come back?
Because the procurement process, which was illegal in the first place, they're saying it would now be they can't reopen it.
Well, I'll let Carolyn answer that point, and then I'll perhaps come back. Well, what is there to do?
Yeah.
Can she come back?
When we have the next civil bid round, which we're having now, yes, I hope you will bid for some work.
I understand that there won't be another bid round until 2010, or certainly not in our area.
But there will, well, I need to check where your area is. But in terms of the civil bid round, and I'm happy to do that afterwards. But in terms of the civil bid round, we have 7 times the number of people applying to do work. But as I said, I would welcome you expressing an interest at that point. We have to make it open and fair to everyone, as you know, and that's part of the case that was taken.
The problem is that by 2010 it should have developed another practice.
But we will be doing civil bid rounds before then, so I will pick that up outside this.
Okay, there's a dialogue going to continue privately beyond this, and let's hope it's a happy outcome.